Okay, and I apologize for not turning on my video. I have not a lot of bandwidth on the island, and so just to save it, I will keep it off. But I'm here and talking to you all. So
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for joining us. I know this was kind of a last minute thing, so we're grateful you were able to join. And I know you've met several of our folks, but we did have a new member start. So I wanted to start off with just a couple introductions. Meg, if you don't mind just quickly introducing yourself, and then I can do another quick review of our team.
Sure, no problem. My name is Meg Goecker. I work for an engineering firm here in Mobile, working from home today, but I have been supporting the Dauphin Island Park and Beach Board for almost 3 years now on this project that you all have worked on or done pieces of. This was a National Fish and Wildlife Foundation funded project from the oil spill. We really we're trying to restore the bird sanctuary that many of you have worked in, and as well as the dune habitat that's found in this area. So my job was to help the bird sanctuary manage this grant, do the reporting, get the monitoring done, support them in the monitoring, and then create these reports that we're going to talk about today so they know their money was well spent. So that is my job. And I have a science degree, a bachelor's degree in science, and then I went on into grad school down here at the Dauphin Island Sea Lab many years ago and got a master's degree. So if any of you are looking for where your career can go, I'm probably a pretty good example of different things you can do. So there you go, Carrie.
Awesome. Thanks, Meg. I know it's always fun to put somebody on the spot. And remind me real quick before I introduce everybody else, is this the last year for the reporting to the grant?
Yes, so this report, as you can see, is the final monitoring report. This grant, we extended it just so they could do some more of the activities with you all and we could get a third year of monitoring in. And so you all did that for us last month. Was it in March? Was it last month?
I think it was either late February or March. Yeah, feels forever ago.
I know, and I'm trying to do the quarterly report, so I was trying to say that we did this, but yeah. So this is the third year, and come December, this will all be done. But yeah, it's been a big push to get the restoration done and the habitat management, and so we just extended it a bit so they could get a few more of the things they needed done. But yep, we'll be done in December.
Awesome. And yeah, so let's just do a quick hello again from each of our folks. If you can just, so I know some of you, have been with the program for a while. And then I guess if you want to give an update, I know some of our folks are leaving. We have somebody who's new. So let's kick it off. Boris, why don't you just introduce yourself again and some type of fun fact to keep us moving.
Hello, I'm Boris. I am the crew leader for the SCA crew, and this is my second season with the SCA. I was a member last season, and now I'm a leader. Who would have thought? And fun fact is, I don't actually like the beach all that much. Fun fact. And here's our other member here.
Let me come closer. I'm Ashley Griffin. We met whenever we were doing that monitoring project with you. And yeah, I'm still with the SCA, looking for other job opportunities, but I should be here until the end of the season, so maybe we'll be able to meet again. And I guess a fun fact would be, I didn't think this through. Oh, sometimes I can dilate my pupils on command. It's pretty cool. You're not gonna be able to see it through video, but maybe I can show people in person sometime.
Pretty cool. Also, I'll be here to the end of the season too.
And so we'll move over to, let's go to Richard since you're next on my screen.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Richard. I'm new to GulfCorps and at the SCA. I kind of only recently started. I'm at home for health-related reasons today, but enjoying it a lot so far. Definitely will be here through June. Um, Happy to hopefully meet you in person one day soon, Meg. I guess my fun fact is if you see an animal attempt to get in the screen, that's my dog. He's next to me right now, and he's been in bed all day with me, so he's a very sweet boy. But I promise you, he's conscious of my how my screen time, so he might try to click on the keyboard. So if you see me push off something, it's him. I promise.
Very cool.
And Ash.
Hey, my name is Ash, or Ashley McIntyre. I will be leaving April 30th. I've got a new job with the what's it called? The Gulf Quest Maritime Museum. A fun fact, I have freckles on my tongue. I don't know why. My mom does too. I think I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I'm okay, I guess. That's me.
Yeah, so we're a little sad. We just found out Ashley, well, we're happy. We're like, so. A little, it's always bittersweet when someone leaves the team, but we're super excited. Ash just found out she's got a full-time position with the Maritime Museum. So still kind of related to our work. Ash, you're going to be doing some like exhibit rehab, right? Some repairs and then some outreach. So right up your alley. Super excited about it. And you guys already know me. You probably see more than you want of me. My fun fact is I got to see some box turtles mating yesterday, which was interesting. I can share photos to the group. It sounds,
Very interesting.
I should just pull up the picture. I don't know if I can find it, but they looked like, because one of them was like flipped over on its back. And so I thought I needed to flip them back over, but actually that's what they do. So if you guys want to learn about that, I'll share that with you later. So we're going to kick things off. And I guess, Meg, you can come up with a fun fact to share with us later during our time. But I'm going to share my screen first just to go over some of the data we collected and how it was organized. And then Meg will have you show how it goes into the report, if that sounds good.
Yes, perfect.
All right. Okay. All right, so you can see this is our Google Drive reporting folder. I just made a little folder for Meg, so because I couldn't email all of this data in one. I'm going to go over the kind of the raw data we've all collected and then show you the maps that we created through it. So as you all know, and Richard, I sent you that background information, we've been doing a lot of work over the past 3 years at the Dauphin Island Bird Sanctuary. A lot of that has centered around dune protection and restoration. And so we went out there and did those 20 plots of vegetation sampling and elevation sampling, as well as taken all those pictures of the how far the plants are from the plots, and then also due to the storm and those images of the sand dune fencing that need to be repaired. And I'm speaking with Greg. Sounds like we'll be going out there in the next couple weeks to repair these areas where the fencing is blown over. So you guys can look forward to getting back on the beach for a while. Sorry, Boris, I know you don't particularly like that. And so just to go over the elevation so this is years 1 through 3. Meg and I had a little bit of fun today because when we first started this project, Greg was doing all the monitoring, and then we kind of switched it over. So we had to find which plots were which. But what's really cool is we were able to analyze and see how much elevation these dunes have gained over the past 3 years. And so you can see the baseline, year 1 is technically like year 2 and then year 3. And so pretty much all of the dunes, so this highlighted section right here is where we are now. Pretty much everything that's not on that far eastern side has been able to gain a significant amount of elevation over the time of the planting. So that's a success for the project. Unfortunately, we did have those storms that kind of wiped out some of those areas, but it seems like that the dunes kind of did their job with protecting the fresh water behind the dunes, which is great. Related to the fact of those storms, I don't know, Meg, if you've had a chance to look at this. On the right, you can see the image of how many plants you guys planted this. Well, it wasn't just you, it was the sanctuary staff too, but I think it was a total of, I believe, 45,000 plants because of the washout from the hurricanes this past year. So it's incredible work. I know you guys didn't do all 45,000, but you did a big chunk of that. And I just wanted to show some images of what the eastern side, so like why we're doing all of this work. Google Earth imagery was able to kind of capture this on the eastern side of the island. So this yellow right here on the left is where our current plants are planted. And you can see, well, back in this image of 2019, that was like kind of that middle ground of uplands and beach. And now that has eroded further back, as you can tell. So these dune systems are really important to make sure like we're trying to protect that freshwater ecosystem up there. Unfortunately, you know, it keeps eroding away, but I think Meg's gonna chat to us a little bit about what some next steps occurring there. But at least for the majority of the area we've planted, there's been a lot of this, well, I guess I'll scroll down here. You can see the yellow. A lot of that stayed in place despite the storms, and even though the plants did wash away, the dunes stayed in place. And now that they're replanted, they can continue to grow, which is really great. Some of the other work we did was invasive species. The sanctuary staff did a lot of the Kogon spraying, the Kogon grass. So we did, I did just note some images of these areas where invasives are coming back, but a lot of natives are returning to these areas that were primarily housed by invasives beforehand. So in that entry section, so I'll just give an example. In that entry section of the bird sanctuary, we did see a couple tallow trees returning in this image, and some torpedo grass picking up. And I don't know, Meg, if you know if they're treating, I don't think they're treating the torpedo. I know some areas consider it a nuisance and some take care of it. We did see that appear. But then also in this entry section, there was a lot of natives that we hadn't seen before over the past couple years. So we all know, I know the girls and Boris were out there too. We saw Juncus, Phragmites, and some sawgrass out there, which are all native marsh grass species that we'd want to see in this property. And it's pretty interesting to see that so close to the road too, but you kind of see these scattered throughout the property, which is great. Another example, going through these areas that have been treated, on the western side of the sanctuary, there is an area that they've treated for Kogon in year 1, but they haven't gone back. And a lot of that has returned, unfortunately, as you can see in this bottom image. And there was also some camphor and Japanese climbing fern that is housed along this trail. So this is just a good example of why we do the monitoring, is to, oh, I see a dog. Sorry, I get distracted with cute dogs. So this is just an example of why it's important to do this monitoring, not just because we get to see, you know, the progress we have made, but also that we need to go back and continue maintenance on some of these areas to get them to where they need to be. Specifically focusing on our tallow treatment, I took so we have that one area at the Oleander Pond that we've been working on. We have data from the first year. So this is our full 3 years of this is this kind of site. We can see from these deck images what things used to look like. I like to look at this bottom picture since you can see the tallow really good. You can see before we started any work here, really that swamp was just infested with tallow trees. Of course, right after we had a nice clean cut of the tallow. When we came back in 2019, there was some regrowth, not very tall trees, but you can see the kind of red leaves there. And then this year we were able, even though you guys we didn't get to do chainsaw this year, so we didn't get to go to all the properties. We did get to go to this one, and you guys were able to knock down a good chunk of the tallow that was coming back there, which is really great. And just another sample from these sites. Another area further north of the property is we did have some invasives returning, including the tallow, kogon, and torpedo. But we also, again, see a lot of natives returning. We see that Phragmites and Juncus, and also these ferns and baby pine saplings. I think I've got another picture down here that I really liked. It's kind of hard to see. I don't know if you can see that, Meg, but there's a little baby pine sapling that survived the prescribed burn. So I was happy to see it doing so well, and it's just really pretty to see all those ferns coming up too, because a lot of those areas weren't having, I guess if you look at the picture below, is some tallow was looking more like that, with the grasses not really coming up and the pines not being able to grow in. So we're seeing a lot of that shift with the work, which is awesome. And lastly is the prescribed burning that has been happening at the sanctuary. This in 2018, there was a about 22 acre burn, and this year they did a 37 acre burn. Unfortunately, due to COVID, they weren't able to do that last section of the property, but hopefully they'll be able to get that done in years to come. This is all the awesome data you guys collected with the percent coverage. We don't have to go into specifics for that. Oh, and I wanted to show one more tallow image. I know I sent you so many pictures this time, Meg. You're probably like, this report is going to be 70 pages long. But just so you guys can get a really good image of like what restoration looks like compared to control. So over by Gator Lake is another area we've done tallow treatment, and we actually have like a control area set aside. On the left, you can see that some of the tallow is returning, but on the right, you can see, roughly 20 tallow trees in that image. So it's really kind of stark, and that's right where you guys did that boardwalk this year. Is on that left side is the tallow, and the right side is the treatment area. So it's pretty incredible to see, what just 3 years has done to the property. And I'm going to go back just to show you guys. So what Meg's going to input, also all this raw data is awesome, and it'll be included probably in some appendices for the report. But when it goes into the report, we want some nice visual maps. So with all that data we collected too, is just a couple acreage amounts and locations of where the treatment was done across the property. So if anybody's really interested in looking at all this, I can send it to you. But that's pretty much it for my end, Meg, if you wanna take over, unless you wanted me to go over anything else.
No, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, and I think the reason Carrie and I thought this might be useful to you all, besides it being a rainy day, it's interesting I think it's interesting to see how all of that data that running around the dunes, running around these plots, how it gets translated into a report. Previous to this, when this project started, the funder requires that we write a monitoring and adaptive management plan. Sometimes you'll hear them called MAM plans. And these just really lay out performance criteria so you know whether your project is successful or not. They're giving you a lot of money and they want to know if you're actually successful. And so I wrote a man plan 3 years ago, and then I based this report off that man plan, and you guys are actually implementing that man plan. So I'm just going to walk through. You can hear some of this language is pretty common for monitoring and adaptive management. And you can see where we actually have done some adaptive management. You know, for example, you guys went out and planted more plants. That was an adaptive management. We lost some and we needed to go back out and get them. Okay, so this is the report that I've drafted. I've been working all day on it. This is for the 3rd year, and this is going to be the final report. So it's really a full summary of what the SCA crew and Greg have done over the last 3 years.
And I think you need to, sorry, I think you stopped
sharing.
When I took over. You have to share your screen again.
Sorry, yep, it's been a long day. Okay, sorry about that. Here you go. So here's the cover of the report, and you can see on the left side over here, you'll be able to see the kind of table of contents as we go, if that helps. But so this is the year 3 report. There's your table of contents and figures and tables. I took all your data and we put it into different things. But, you know, the typical project overview, this came right out of the MAM plan, and we had set some really specific goals. So this really gives you the context for what you all were doing. I always hate when someone gives me a task and I don't know the larger context of it all. So really our goal for this project, and they gave the Park and Beach Board like $500,000 to do this. They wanted to restore 1/2 mile of shoreline with primary dune, and then they wanted to improve habitat management on 164 acres of the bird sanctuary, which is this area you all have gotten familiar with, right? So we always set goals, we always set objectives. We wanted to enhance the dune, we wanted to establish native dune vegetation and establish native maritime forest vegetation, just like Carrie was just describing when she starts to talk about the natives that are coming in. And then what we do is set these monitoring parameters and performance criteria. So I think this table is really helpful. You can see there it was split into the dune enhancement and the habitat management. And for the dune enhancement, we had 6 parameters, right? We went out and checked to make sure the sand fencing was there. You all helped me with the elevation of the dune and the spatial extent of the dune. Those are the maps Carrie and the data Carrie just showed. You all helped me also with the percent survival, the species composition and percent cover, and then the absence, presence of undesirable species. So you guys actually, all these data, you're going to see some results in a second. And then after each of these parameters, we set performance criteria, because we don't set a goal. We don't know if we're getting there every year. And I won't go through all these, but for instance, with the elevation of the dune, we had really set a goal that by year 3, we should have at least 3 more feet of sand dune. And I had set that number based on some papers I had read from the Fish and Wildlife Service that was pretty typical, that you could get about 1 foot of dune growth on sand fences over a 3-year period. And so you will see that we reached this in a couple spots, but not in all spots, right? So you set these performance criteria, and what was really interesting is if we didn't reach this criteria, the funder is willing to look at bringing in some sand to help. That would be the adaptive management action, right? Bring in more sand since the sand isn't doing what it should by itself. So, you know, this was really important. So y'all collecting that data could mean another restoration project to make sure, you know, we do not breach the dune system and ruin the freshwater lake that is in the bird sanctuary. So there's lots of performance criteria here. I'll get into this in a minute, and you can see how your data were used. But it's the same here with the habitat management. You all were out there. It was number of acres of Kogon grass, number of acres of Chinese tallow treated, and then whether there were native species coming back. So, and then NIFWF has their own metrics. that they wanted us to track. So, not as detailed. Those were easy. And you all are welcome. I can send this, Carrie. It's kind of a large file, but I can get this to y'all if you want to see it once it's complete. But you can see with each objective, we have a method for how we get at that parameter. So, I mean, really simply, like with structural integrity, if Greg saw that a sand fence was down, he went and fixed it, right? That was the corrective action. He did some visual observations. But again, the important one, like the elevation of the dune, this is what you all did. You did a topographic survey with established permanent stakes. You had 20 permanent stakes, right? So this is the method you followed. We had a restoration control. We didn't end up doing this, actually. We didn't end up doing a control site, but we could have compared it to another restoration project that was just done just down the beach a ways. So for each one of these parameters, I've put down methods here and performance criteria and corrective actions. I won't bore you with all of that. And then, you know, there's also methods for the habitat management, but you guys did this, right? Right, Carrie? You guys mapped to the number of acres that were treated for Kogon, that were treated for tallow trees. You guys did this for me. You guys went out and looked at these burn plots and invasive plots to see if there were native species in there. So you all followed these methods. And then the exciting stuff is that you got results to me, right? We've got data. That's the fun stuff for us scientists. I've been filling this in all day. I'm going to go to the exciting part. I'll get back to this. Actually, this graph's kind of cool, Carrie. This is the gain in elevation in inches. So this is actually your data. So you can see these sites down here, 18, 19, and 20, are those sites at the west end of the project that were completely gone, right? They're in the water at 0 elevation. But you can see these ones down here, number 4 has gained over 3 feet of elevation in the last 3 years. So really, and then I have it by years. So you can see year 1, there wasn't a lot of gain, but man, year 2, we did get a lot of gain despite the storms, and that can be from wind blowing the sand in. So lots of different cool things in this graph if y'all want to study it a bit. But this is your data represented right here on a graph that really helps the funder know, you know, some of this worked, some of it didn't. We really obviously had we have some real issues and trouble area down here. I mean, this is where the houses are falling in the water, right? We all know that. So I thought that's a really cool graph, Carrie. These are your maps, Carrie. This is your team's maps right here in this report. That's what this was all about, is y'all learning that. I think y'all, you can see the erosion here. I was trying to capture the good and the bad in one page, right? The good on the top and the bad on the bottom. So I'm going to scroll down. Actually, I'm going to bring up my spreadsheet. So this is to me, the most important part of this whole report, right? It really has your performance criteria in column D. It tells us the post-construction target that we are trying to hit, and then all the data you guys gathered from year 1, year 2, and year 3, right? So for instance, let's do the important one, right? Elevation of dunes. So right, year 1 was the baseline, and Greg set 20 stakes, and we knew our elevation. That's our baseline elevation. Then last year, y'all went out and you measured those elevations just like you did this year, and I took an average of that, and we had gained about almost 5 inches on average, range from 0 to 20. Okay, and then over all 3 years, we averaged about 15 inches over the last 3 years, which we were really trying to hit 3 feet, which would be 36 inches, right? So we did not get to our performance criteria on this one, right? So that should trigger some kind of corrective action in the minds of the funder. Maybe we need to do a bigger and better project, which is what they're going to do in the end. But you know, 15, at least you had some sites that got up to 39 inches, right? So this really helps us to see where there's problems, where we could do more. But honestly, that's the only performance criteria where we didn't meet our goals, right? So we did twice as much acreage. You guys planted so many plants. We did twice as much acreage for plants. We had really good survival. I know they didn't look very good this year because we haven't hit the growing season, but those plants will pop up. This is another one y'all did for me, the species composition and percent cover. We just wanted to make sure the percent cover was over 25%. And on average, last year it was 45, and this year it was 39. Those are your data, all averaged out, right? So that shows you we've got pretty good percent survival. I set that number, again, based on some scientific papers and the way dune plants grow over the years. Same here with undesirable plants. Nothing bad has been growing in our dune plants. So, you know, all of this stuff I've filled out based on what Carrie sent me from all your guys' work. I was going to have you help me do this last one. And as Carrie was presenting her data, I tried to start to summarize what I heard. And Carrie, you all can tell me if you agree or not agree with what you saw out there, but you said, yeah, we've seen some decrease in invasives. Some natives are returning to treated areas, but we probably do need to keep treating a lot of these spots. So, you know, based on what you all saw out there, and I could probably break that into Kogon, tallow trees, and then the burn areas. But I think overall, just for this table, that's probably a pretty good message. But if you all, Carrie, wanted to write a short paragraph, you know, outlining what you saw there with the native species coming back or not coming back, I'd be happy to put it in the report. I wanted you all to have an opportunity to feel like you contributed to the report as well. And so what will happen is I'll take this table, I'll put it right. Whoops, that's my quarterly report. I will put it right here into this report, and we will discuss some of these issues. And so, like that very last one here, if y'all want to help me write it, we can stick it in there. And collecting the data is one thing, but then analyzing what you saw, why you think you saw it, what actions you think you need that need to keep going. That's another thing, right, Carrie? It's not just data; it's analyzing it and giving a recommendation, because you all are the experts now. When you know how to treat these things, you start to realize what needs to be done year after year after year to keep these habitats in good shape. So that is the context. And then the data, I shouldn't skip over this, Carrie, but here's the data. And we will, I know you do have a lot of data. What I'm going to do is not put it all in an appendix, but give it both to the bird sanctuary. You guys obviously have it. I'll give it to you guys too, and myself. But that it'll always be there if someone wants to pick up this monitoring again in another year. So with that, I might leave y'all with a homework assignment on this rainy day if you want it, Carrie. But that's how it all gets. That's how the sausage gets made from the data that you all collect.
Yeah, I think we can take some time after we're finished all talking to come up with something. I'll share my screen and we can all come up with some verbiage to send a paragraph over to you. But I wanted to open it up to see if anybody had any questions regarding what we covered. Or just for Meg and like what she does and how she does it.
I would say I can bring up these things if they help you think more, but yeah.
Well, I have a quick question since people are still thinking. You mentioned so this is the last year of the monitoring. I think we will continue as SCA and GulfCorps to continue, the work at the property and probably continue this monitoring on. So I guess for the next steps, you mentioned that NIFWIF is considering bringing in sand. Is that correct?
Yes. It's even bigger and better than that. They're going to do a whole dune restoration that will go from the very tip of the island all the way through that first neighborhood. I can bring up Google Earth and show y'all. But they will be restoring from this end by the fort all the way down. I'm not sure how far, probably down past over here. So, I mean, we're talking about not a $500,000 project, we're talking about a $30 million project. And this is when dune and barrier island restoration at its finest will come out. What we were doing with the dune plants is important, and you can see it when you're out there. What will be done by this set of coastal engineers is on a grander, when you talk about 1 million cubic yards of sand being moved, it becomes a whole new level of restoration. So.
I know someone's thinking this. Do you know, have they mentioned where the sand is coming from? Because I had heard that it was like, I heard it was potentially from the dredging project in the bay.
No, you would hope the Corps would do that. That is not where it comes from. It'll come from a borrow site that's offshore out here.
Okay.
And they'll pump it in. There's lots of different things that go on with that sand in the channel, but that is not what will be used. It's a borrow site that's out here. That might be it. I can't remember exactly where it is. Yeah, it's a lot of sand. And it's got to be the right kind of sand. So lots of rules to follow, and but these guys know what they're doing. So it'll be interesting to see it over the years grow. I think, Carrie, the one thing I think really important that people don't realize is setting these criteria. Performance criteria are really important. You can't just make it up. You gotta get into the literature, see what is reasonable. You don't want to set yourself up for failure, but you don't want to have a criteria that is just silly to set. So, like I said, there's lots behind, trying to get to 3 feet of elevation and having a percent survival of 80%. Just lots of experience and what is reasonable for these plants on a normal cycle. So.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think our folks are a little exhausted from the rainy day. Maybe they'll think of some other questions, but so I know this
a lot to take in. So
yeah, it is a lot to take in too. I know I've been looking at this for most of the week now, but I guess I know this is just one aspect of your position with Moffett and Nickel, but I guess if you could just maybe give folks like an idea of like what your role is with Moffett and Nickel, just in case. I know we have some of our folks interested in different forms of land management. What they could expect if they went into like an engineering position like that.
Yeah. So I'm not an engineer, but I am a scientist, and they need us as much as we need them. So a lot of my job revolves around coastal restoration, as you can tell. We restore marsh, try to protect shorelines in the greenest way possible, despite sea level rise and large storms. Trying to use this oil spill money in the best way possible to bring back habitats that were damaged by the oil spill. So so my job involves a lot of project management right now. When you have large projects like this, when you're trying to restore, 40 acres of marsh or 100 acres of marsh, there's a lot of details in keeping all the engineers doing their job, keeping all your sub-consultants doing your job, and keeping a project flowing. So I do a lot of project management, keeping people doing their jobs. But, at the same time, we're always trying to make habitat. And so that's where my actual degree comes in handy. You all have done a lot of this land management work, and it's there's lots of different aspects to land conservation. Not in my day job, in my spare time, I work a lot with the land conservation community, so land trusts that try to buy up land. So I can share Dauphin Island again. So there's a group called the Dauphin Island Bird Sanctuaries, not the actual sanctuary itself, but it's a land trust that tries to buy up land to protect for the birds. There's big lots here that they try to preserve. So a lot of those land trusts have land managers. I know you've probably worked with, who have you worked with at SALT? If it wasn't Yael, I don't know their new land manager, but, and there's another group in Mississippi that has a similar, called the Land Trust for the Mississippi Coastal Plain. They have land managers, and their jobs are exactly what you all are doing right now. They manage the lands that have been protected for conservation. So yeah, there's lots of different opportunities. I think if you're not restoring, you're protecting, and then when you're protecting, you're acting as a steward for the land or the marine environment. So there's lots of different opportunities. Gotta look around.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. Oh, go ahead. You can ask a question.
I was just I didn't know what some people maybe some people on the phone are looking forward to, or other groups you have talked to, Carrie, on different job opportunities. It sounds like Ashley already found a job, so that's exciting, but if there's others that have any aspirations or questions, I'm happy to take them.
We actually just had our career day. I think you attended that last year. We actually had our career day last Friday, so they all got new headshots and met with a mentor. And I knew this was coming up, so I saved you for this time. So yeah, I think we've got folks kind of heading in every direction: policy, some land management, art, even.
Great.
So I mean, if anybody has a specific question about that for Meg, you can. And I'm sure Meg would be fine with me sharing her contact information if you are interested in reaching out to her. So,
no problem. Yep.
Yeah, I think we'll take the last 15 minutes. If people don't have questions, we'll take the last 15 minutes to come up with that blurb or paragraph.
Yeah,
for
that'd
you.
be great. That'd be great.
And I can send that over.
Yeah, and I can send you what I've started if that helps you, Carrie. And I'll just email it to you real quick.
Yeah,
and I'll send over that report too. If people are interested after they take it all in, they're welcome to look where their data got plugged in. So
awesome. Well, thanks. I think we'll hop off
Thank
this
you.
meeting and make another room so you can have your computer back.
Okay.
But I'll be looking
No
for that
problem.
email and respond to it with our little section we come up with. But thanks so much for taking time to meet with us. It's awesome to do the
Right,
full circle.
Yeah, thanks y'all, and keep up the good work.
Bye.
Bye.